Regular action board meetings Monday, June 18, 2012, here at Hinsdale South High School. I'd ask everyone to stand and join us in pledge
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Kathy.
Mr. Brennan?
Here.
Mr. Kuhn?
Here.
Mrs. Gorgo? Here. Mrs. Barrett? Here. Mrs. Gallo? Here. Mrs. Blanson? Here. Dr. Skoda?
Present.
Okay, good. We have all 7 board members here. We'll move to our next item, audience communication. Kathy, has anyone signed it?
No.
And we'll move on to the next item, which is the public hearing legal school holidays. At this time, we're going to suspend the board meeting to conduct a public hearing for legal school holidays modification according to Public Act 96-640. I'll call the public hearing to order at 7:31. Are there any comments from members of the Board of Education?
Well, as a teacher and a student, I always found the state mandated holidays to be rejuvenating. And the way they do it, there's one in October, one in November, one in January. And of course, when I was a kid, probably you too, Dennis, every kid, no matter how bright they were, they knew when Lincoln's birthday was and Washington's birthday, and they loved it. So, the real question is, other than getting out 4 days earlier, what's the real advantage to not observing them? And is getting out 4 days earlier in June or May really that advantageous? Because quite honestly, I think it gives a lot of people a lot of mental health when you have these. Although having Lincoln's birthday so close to President's Day, that could be a problem. You know, you don't need that, but anyway, just a thought.
No, I do remember the holidays. I also remember being upset when we were still in school in June, so I wasn't easily pleased. Any other comments from anybody? Okay, now, at this time we'll take comments from anybody in the public who wishes to speak about this issue. Is there anyone in the public who wants to speak on it? No? Okay, then at this time, we're going to close the public hearing for legal school holidays modification according to Public Act 96-640, and we'll reconvene in the regular board meeting. Now that we're back in the regular board meeting, I'm going to ask for a motion to approve modification process as detailed in Public Act 96-640 regarding legal school holidays. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any comments or discussion?
And the modification is what?
This allows the board to use any of those 5 holidays for the following: student attendance, teacher institute, parent-teacher conferences, staff development activities. This will allow the board to make decisions regarding those 5 holidays for those 4 request modifications henceforth.
And by our approving the calendar, did we already make those decisions?
You made those decisions for next school year, and then for the following school year, that's the season, in reference to the use of those holidays.
And you have to do this every year, or is this good forever?
This is now with the Public Act 96-640. This takes care of this for the board for the future henceforth. Used to be every 5 years. ISB now delegated that to the ROE. Now it's one time for this usage.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, we have a motion, a second on the floor. Kathy can call the roll.
Mrs. Barrett?
Aye.
Mrs. Gorgo?
Aye.
Mr. Brennan?
Aye.
Mr. Kuhn?
Aye.
Mrs. Gallo?
Aye.
Mrs. Blanson?
Aye.
Dr. Skoda?
Aye.
Motion passes. Next, we'll move to good news, recognition of students and staff. Dr. Wall.
Thank you, Mr. Brennan. Very exciting time. We have good news. We have students and parents and coaches in the audience. I'm going to let Mr. McGrory do the honors, but we have our boys state tennis championship team, 21st state title in tennis. We congratulate Coach Nesbitt in his first state title, and obviously the boys and the parents. What a great accomplishment. We're going to recognize them this evening with certificates. Mr. McGrory, would you take it from here?
Thank you, Dr. Wall. I also want to congratulate our boys tennis team and also congratulate them on their outstanding season this year. As many of you know, they won every duel they were in, every tournament we had this year. What an incredible season they had, and we're very proud of you. Also, as John comes up, he has a few words he would like to say about the team. And as John comes forward, and I don't want to forget his beautiful daughter Maddie is with him tonight. John has done a great job for our tennis team, and one of the things is not only will I know he'll make students better tennis players, but he also will make them better people. And I really appreciate everything John does, and he's done a great job for us as tennis coach. So thank you, John.
Thank you very much, Mr. McGrory. I do want to congratulate the boys, enormously talented bunch, with 24 team members who are as talented, well, I guess we proved we're more talented than any team in the state of Illinois. Went through the season completely undefeated. We have great students in the classroom. Just for example, I'm looking at Griffin Johns. He's perfect score on the SAT, full ride to Washington and Lee. He's going to play tennis there. So he's a great example of a combination of great skills with tennis and great academics, as is Sam Bloom, who's got a scholarship to go play for Wake Forest, and also he's a great combination of academics and tennis, just to name two of my captains. We had a wonderful year, and we look forward to next year. Thank you very much. I want to give my student athletes these certificates provided by the board in a very brief ceremony now. And Mr. McGrory will further give them a state championship medal. Temi Adulakan, please come up. And once you got it, you can head out. Thank you, Temi. Sam Bloom, please come up. Chris Saltiel, please come up. Jimmy Bruning, please come up. Grant Weber, please come up. Congratulations, Grant. Who's this? Stephen Nolan. Congratulations, Stephen. Harold Martin. Griffin Johns. Daniel Holland. Good chases in. That's well done. Chase Hamilton. Captain Peter Hennigan and Peter, if you could stay up there for just a moment. Avi Deshpante. Thank you, Avi. Championship medal. Lope Adulakan. Further quick recognition here before you, Peter Hennigan, our junior captain, who with his partner Alex Tager-Moser won the state championship in doubles to really help this team win the team title. So we want to give special recognition to Peter Hennigan. Thank you, sir. Pleasure. Thank you all.
Staying with that theme of IHSA state champions, we're very proud to announce Hinsdale South Ferris Binion on his state championship, first ever for the school in track and field in the 100-meter dash. Dr. Waterman, could you expand on this? We have Coach Norman with us too.
Yeah, very exciting. My pleasure to introduce a student athlete at Hinsdale South who's done something that no other athlete has done in the history of the school, and that is win an individual state championship in track for boys or girls. Tavares, very proud of him, as Ms. McGrory said about the tennis team at Hinsdale Central. Good student in the classroom, great model citizen in the hallways, was part of our cell phone committee actually this year. On the track team, he's a very busy guy on the football team, so really does a great job of getting involved in the greater school community. And he's also very fast. I also want to congratulate him, but I also want to congratulate the head boys track coach at Hinsdale South, Mr. Dean Norman, and he's going to say a few words about the race and about the season. Coach Norman?
Yep. A few words about Tavares. He's a junior, so we're very excited about the prospects of next season as well. And this season, Tavares was part of 6 school records at our school that, they've gone back in the 80s, 70s, and just like Dr. Waterman said, just represents the school and the district in an outstanding way. Fastest person in the state of Illinois in class 1A, 2A, or 3A, and also finished 5th place in the 200. So he was all state in 2 different areas. So really looking forward to the future with what he brings to our school. And just like was said, just represents himself in a real positive way. So thank you very much for what you've done.
Do we know how fast he ran?
10-3.
Now we're moving to national recognition. We have Presidential Award for Excellence in Mathematics and Science Teaching. We're very pleased and proud to announce David Bonner, Hinsdale South science teacher, received the Presidential Award for Excellence in Math and Science. David is a science teacher in that category and the only teacher in the state of Illinois to be recognized by this. Dr. Waterman, if you could expand. And I want to thank the science colleagues, market chairs and colleagues for being here this evening. That's impressive, David. Dr. Waterman.
Yeah, very, very pleased. My honor to introduce Mr. Bonner. It's something that obviously he's been a tremendous leader in our science department, been a tremendous leader in our building, and now to receive national recognition for something that we've known for a long time in Hinsdale South. He was awarded the Presidential Award for Excellence in Mathematics and Science Teaching, and as Dr. Wall indicated, only one science teacher in the state of Illinois received this award. Only 97 teachers nationwide received this. And for his efforts, he receives a trip to Washington, D.C. to be presented with the award, and also has an opportunity to meet with some policymakers and talk education and talk classroom instruction for a few days in Washington, D.C. And in addition to that, receives a $10,000 award for the award. So on behalf of Hinsdale South, we want to congratulate Mr. Bonner for this award. I also want to recognize David's wife Janine, who is here, and the science department for moral support as well. Thanks, guys, for being here. So, Mr. Bonner. Say a few words if you'd like.
Thank you guys for recognizing me on such short notice, because I was only announced on the 11th, so it's been really kind of a whirlwind last week. But also thank you to my department. I mean, you can see how supportive they are and coming out all the way out to see this. So I'm really inspired by them, and everything I've been able to accomplish, I feel like, is a reflection of the people I work with and the support from the administration and everything. So thank you very much.
We look forward to the debrief when you get back from that. See what insights you gave them. Congratulations. Next on the agenda, we have recognition of educational support personnel retiring this year. I don't know if we had any of our ESP able to attend this evening for recognition. I checked earlier, I didn't see anyone. But we're going to recognize them nonetheless. From Hinsdale South, paraprofessional Marion Mazika is retiring after 16 years of service in District 86 at Hinsdale South. Also at Hinsdale South, Carol Poindexter, administrative assistant to the athletic director, is retiring after 20 years. Cynthia Rhea, department secretary, Hinsdale South, retiring after 24 years of service. And Mary Paxson, library aide at Hinsdale South for 15 years. They will be given a certificate of recognition on behalf of the board and thanking them for their years of service to District 86. So we thank them publicly. Next item is Certificate of Excellence in Financial Reporting Award from the Association of School Business Officials International, which is referred to as ASBO. We're very pleased to report for the 17th consecutive year, Hinsdale Township High School District 86 has been awarded the Certificate of Excellence in Financial Reporting from the Association of School Business Officials International. We have just received this award for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2011. This award is presented to school districts that have met or exceeded the standards of the Certificate of Excellence program in their school financial reporting of their comprehensive annual financial report. Mr. Egan, we thank you for all your diligence and hard work in the business office, working with our auditor and excellent financial reporting. Thank you, and recognition to the district as well. Thank you. We have also been recognized by Newsweek as America's Best High Schools. Newsweek compiles a Best High Schools report comprised of 6 components: graduation rate, college matriculation rate, AP test taken per graduate, average SAT, ACT scores, average AP scores, AP courses offered with certain percentages weighed into that. This year, more than 2,300 public high schools supplied data to be considered in this list of the top 1,000 schools in the nation. We're very pleased to report Hinsdale Central's high school ranking is 6th in the state and 177th nationally, and Hinsdale South is ranked 21st in the state and 444th nationally. We recognize and appreciate this recognition from Newsweek and continue to strive as we have 2 of the best high schools in the nation and the state. Thank you, Mr. McGrory and Dr. Waterman, for all your efforts to continue that tradition moving along. That concludes me.
Thank you, Dr. Wall. We'll now move to our reports. First one that we have will be the principals. Principal McGrory from Hinsdale Central.
I have nothing to add to my report.
And from Hinsdale South, Dr. Waterman.
I have nothing to add either.
Thank you.
I would just like to make a comment about principals. Could you please thank your teams, Mr. Walsh and his team at Central, and Mr. Holland and his team at South, for wonderful graduation ceremonies. They were 2 fabulous nights, and it's the reason I'm sitting on this board. Thank you.
Okay. Next committee is the Facility Committee, Mr. Kuhn.
No report.
Finance Committee, Mrs. Gallo.
No report.
The Ad Hoc Committee report, Mr. Kuhn.
Thank you.
Kay and I and Dr. Wall met last month, and we want to go ahead and recommend the suggested motion to adopt resolution 11-18 as presented.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second?
We have a motion by Mr. Kuhn, second by Mrs. Gallo, to adopt resolution 11-18 is presented, which basically is we're not releasing the minutes from prior 6 months.
Correct.
Any questions? Kathy can call the roll.
Mrs. Corrigal?
Aye.
Mr. Brennan?
Aye.
Mr. Kuhn?
Aye.
Mrs. Gallo? Aye. Mrs. Clancy?
Aye.
Dr. Skoda?
Aye.
Mrs. Barrett?
Okay. The next report is the President's report. The only item is, because of the construction at Central, we're supposed to have our meeting next month at Central, our meetings, I'm sorry. The Central Ear, just one. The Central Ear will be down, so we may have to move it to Hinsdale South. there'll be a notice posted and everybody will know. But if you're used to just switching back and forth, you know what's here.
Will we continue then in August to be here, just keep on the schedule? Okay, thank you.
Okay? Next, we'll move to written communication freedom of information request, Dr. Wall.
We processed Freedom of Information requests A through G since last regular action meeting.
Okay. The consent agenda is our next item. The consent agenda includes approval of minutes from previous board meetings, including committee of the whole and ad hoc committee, public hearing of June 4th, 2012. We also have on there salaries, payments of board bills, interim bills, sale of equipment, and there's a couple of personnel items, including certified staff, leaves of absence and employments, and support staff item. 2 items. Is there anyone that wishes to pull an item from the consent agenda? No? Okay, we need a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Kuhn made the motion, second by Mrs. Planson, to approve the consent agenda as presented. Kathy, can you call the roll?
Mr. Brennan?
Aye.
Mr. Kuhn?
Aye.
Mrs. Gallo?
Aye.
Mrs. Clancy?
Aye.
Dr. Skoda?
Aye.
Mrs. Barrett?
Aye.
Mrs. Corvo?
Aye.
Okay, consent agenda passes unanimously. Thank you. Next.
And just one question, we hired a teacher to be .2 FTE or 1/5 of a teacher. So are we able to give them some other way to make some income here?
We don't have anything, and they're not, my understanding is they're not interested. It's
Okay, so they're happy with that, okay.
correct.
Okay. The action items are next. Our first action item is professional membership in Illinois Association of School Boards. We had discussed this at the previous meeting. We brought it back for approval. At this time, we need a motion to move for the Board of Education, a new membership in the Illinois Association of School Boards for the 2012-13 school year. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Kuhn, second by Mrs. Planson. Any comments or questions, discussion?
Yeah, a comment. In March, I brought this to the attention of the board and asked for this to be an agenda item in March, but it was decided that this was not pressing and we just talked about it in June. And it has to do with the executive director of the IASB, Roger Eddy. The Tribune in March had a scathing editorial about him. He was a state representative. He was in a tight Republican primary, which he was going to lose, and he withdrew just before the primary, and he was given the directorship of the IASB. The reason the Tribune was upset with them is that they were happy he's out of the legislature. They said he was a backer of some educational legislations not in the best interest of the state school children. They also said basically he had been double dipping on 2 state pensions. Something else that's interesting is that he gets to use his position as director of the ISB to basically up his teacher's pension, because whatever he makes there, he's only getting $103,000 as a superintendent, but he's going to get much more than that, so that's going to count towards the teacher's superintendent, the teacher's pension. And I think the most damaging thing here is that he is the leader and the spokesman in Springfield for the school districts. And in January and April, according to the Tribune, he received $60,000 from teacher unions to support his election. So basically, he was the IEA's man in Springfield. And now he is going to head up the School Board Association. And quite honestly, I always had reservations about where the IASB was coming from, but especially right now, I don't see how they can effectively represent taxpayers. So I'll be voting no.
Any other comments, discussion? Okay.
I just want to state that the mission of the Illinois Association of School Boards is for governance and support of quality public education. Okay, so if you go out to their website, you can see what they're all about. And I appreciate the training that I've received through the Illinois Association of School Boards.
Good, anyone else? Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor to approve membership. Kathy can call the roll.
Mr. Kuhn?
Aye.
Mrs. Gallo?
Yes.
Mrs. Clancy?
Aye.
Dr. Skoda?
No?
Mrs. Barrett?
No.
Mrs. Gorgel?
Aye.
Mr. Brennan?
Aye. Okay, our next item is the Hinsdale Central Field Trip.
We have a request from Mr. McGrory requesting board approval for an overnight out-of-state field trip for a leadership camp for this summer. We recommend approval at this time.
We need a motion to approve the proposed Hinsdale Central overnight and or out-of-state field trip as presented. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
Motion by Mr. Kuhn, second by Mrs. Gallo. Any comments or discussion? Kathy, can you call the roll?
Mrs. Gallo?
Yes.
Mrs. Clancy?
Aye.
Dr. Skoda?
Aye.
Mrs. Barrett?
Aye.
Mrs. Gorgel?
Aye.
Mr. Brennan?
Aye.
Mr. Kuhn?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Our next item is the non-bargaining group salaries. Dr. Wall.
As discussed with the board previous, in response to the consumer price index over the last 2 years, which has been 1.5 and 3.0 respectively, those known numbers have been put in the financial projections for District 86 as known revenue, and we're recommending the 2.25% increase for non-bargaining group members, which would be support staff and administration for next school year.
We need a motion to approve the non-bargaining group salaries with a 2.25% increase for fiscal year 2013.
I would like to table this until we have a discussion of this in closed session.
I'll second that.
Well, we did discuss this at the last meeting, but since you weren't here, I think we can, rather than table it, we can move it to the end of the agenda if nobody has an objection. We didn't put a motion on the floor, we'll just move it to the end of the agenda.
Well, okay, my reservation is that currently we have contract negotiations going on with the Teachers Association, which are unresolved. In the past, it's always been the practice of the board not to act on other salaries until the teacher negotiations have been done. And therefore, I think it's just bad practice to be giving this out while teacher negotiations are out there. Whether you come in high or low on this, whatever, it's just a bad situation.
Okay, well, we'll move this to the end of the agenda, we can discuss it in closed. We have other items anyhow in closed, and, then we can vote on it. Everybody just remind me that we moved it though, so we don't forget about it. We'll move to the next item on the agenda, which is the anti-bullying policies. Dr. Walsh.
School code prescribes that every 2 years, the district review their policies related to bullying, anti-bullying policies. As reported in a previous meeting, we reviewed this with our committee comprised of parents, students, and teachers and administrators. 3 policies really are interrelated in this discussion on reviewing anti-bullying policies. They're 7:180, which is the district's preventing bullying, intimidation, and harassment policy that we adopted 2 years ago. 7:190, the student discipline policy, and 7:20, harassment of students prohibited. These have been reviewed with the committee, they've been reviewed at the board level, and we're recommending we re-adopt these in compliance with the school code. The only minor changes are to 7:20 on page 1. In the first paragraph, and it is highlighted in, I believe, yellow on your screen. And, right, page 1 first. Examples of prohibited conduct include but are not limited to was added. And then on page 2, any student who is determined after an investigation to have engaged in harassment will be subject to disciplinary action outlined in policy 7180. Those would be the suggested recommendations as we go forward.
Need a motion to approve board policies 7:180, 7:190, and 7:20 as presented. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Kuhn, second by Mrs. Planson. Any comments, discussion, questions?
A question, 720 is new?
No, none of these are new, Dr. Scota. The code just directs us to review these every 2 years. These are, all 3 are existing policies.
Now, the question is, on 720, sexual orientation. Is sexual orientation currently by federal law a protected group status?
It would be accurate as to 2 years ago. Those were the protected group status at that time.
Okay.
Okay, any other comments or discussion? Okay, Kathy, can you call the roll?
Mrs. Planson?
Aye.
Dr. Skoda?
Aye.
Mrs. Barrett? Aye. Mrs. Gorgel?
Aye.
Mr. Brennan?
Aye.
Mr. Kuhn?
Aye.
Mrs. Gallo?
Aye.
Motion passes. The next item on the agenda is legal bills. The legal bills have been attached from Scariano, Hines, and Petrarca. And at this time, we need a motion to approve the legal bills from Scariano, Hines, and Petrarca as presented. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the bills. Any comments or discussion, questions?
Now, I continue to feel, and I went through these, that there's unnecessary expenditures. For instance, we were charged $46 by the law firm so they could talk to the Tribune. Also, on their own, I don't believe it had board sanction, they decided to file a motion to sanction Mrs. Barrett's attorneys for improper practice, etc., which of course raises money, costs. Did the board direct the lawyers to go after Mrs. Barrett's attorneys?
I can speak on that. The normal course, the board was asked, I was asked, they were going to file sanctions. I said, what would you normally do? Normally, they would file for sanctions. So do what you normally would do.
Okay, so you gave that direction?
Yes.
Okay, because Mrs. Barrett was shaking, Mrs. Gallo was shaking her head like I was incorrect there. And like I said, the board. But anyway, too much money is being spent here, and once again, giving Mrs. Barrett the closed session tape isn't worth, to keep her from getting that isn't worth spending a penny.
Okay, any other comments? No. We have a motion and a second, correct, Kathy?
Correct.
Okay, at this time, can you call the roll, please?
Dr. Skoda?
No?
Mrs. Barrett?
No.
Mrs. Gorgel?
Aye.
Mr. Brennan?
Aye.
Mr. Kuhn?
Aye.
Mrs. Gallo?
Yes.
Mrs. Planson?
Aye.
Motion passes. We will now move to the superintendent's report. Dr. Wall.
As we had indicated last meeting, we have an update on construction on our capital improvements. Doug Lim is with us from Gilbane to give an update and a short slide demonstration on the progress made. Doug, can we get you queued up here? Sure.
Good evening, Douglas Lim from Gilbane. I know it's only been a little over a week since school got out, but I wanted to give you guys an update because there are a lot of activities that has happened within that short period of time. And before I get into the actual update on construction, a couple of things I wanted to mention. I want to thank the staff from Central and South and Dr. Warren and Mr. Egan for being flexible. This construction process is such a fast-paced project. We got 10 weeks to get close to $20 million worth of work done. So we need as much of a cooperation and flexible planning as much as we can from a district, and within that short period of 1 week, we've seen the result of it. So because of that, the activities that has happened within a week is a lot more than I expected and anticipated. So I want to thank the district staff and Mr. Egan and the Central and South staff for that. So even though it's only been a week, I just wanted to show you what has transpired. I think some of you, probably all of you, have seen some of the activities that's out there. And it's going to be changing daily basis, amount of work that's going in each day, so it makes big difference. So I want to just confirm that schedule, which is critical. Obviously, there are 3 items that overall the presentation will give you is a big picture schedule, which is, are we on schedule to open up the school? And both South and Central, as of today, absolutely yes, the answer is. As far as budget-wise, are we on budget? Absolutely yes. We're not spending a penny more than what district has approved. So both schedule and a budget, we're on track to meet the program. Now, just to show you some of the activities that has happened between the day the school went out and within a week actually, some of the key activities at South High School. As you saw, we removed the west entrance canopy. From a picture you'll see, it makes school very different without the canopies, so I think it's pretty interesting. We disconnected all the mechanical equipment and the main lobby at South. We've got a lot of demolition going on right now as we speak. Then, believe it or not, we got all the unit ventilators in the classroom already, the new ones. We haven't hooked it up yet, but we took the old one out and new ones in the classroom already. And if you remember, we bought those units early on because of the lead time. So I'm very happy the units are at the site already, which is critical to get the project done. And you will see on the picture the scaffolding at a pool. That's a project of its own. You see how complicated the scaffolding is to get to the unit above the swimming pool. That's some of the key activities that happened last week out of South. As far as the Central, same thing. We removed the existing drive-in sidewalks, as you could see. And we disconnected all the mechanical equipment and we removed it out of the classrooms. And the demolition and main lobby and computer lab, that's happened. And bleachers are coming out. In fact, most of them are gone as we speak. And excavation for Central plant, that's critical to get the unit going. So those are some of the key activities that has happened within 5 days that the school got out. That's the west entrance without the canopies, so it's pretty interesting to see. And you see the picture inside the entrance with all the demo that's going on. Remember the main entrance of west, that's not what it looked like main entrance, but so a lot of work has been done already. Let's see. That's the scaffolding at a swimming pool. To get to the unit upstairs, right above the swimming pool, there's a mechanical unit that we're demoing. So that is scaffolding to get up to there, and I've seen some of the demolition that's happening already today when I was out there. So I'm very excited about this whole project at South. And this is Central main entrance off of 55th Street. So it's a lot of driveways all torn apart to get the new driveways in. And that's the main entrance inside the Central as you walk in. So the floor's been demoed. And that's the bleacher. You could see some of the railings came out, but most of the bleachers are gone. And so to give you, next board meeting is in July, so I'm going to give you some of the key items that's going to happen between now and then to give you some idea. At South High School, the demolition and gradings at North and West Drive is going to happen between now and next month. And the roof replacement at West Balcony is going to happen. Piping for mechanical equipment, that's a key component of the project, biggest part of the whole project. So the pipe installation is already happening as we speak. So some of the pipes is in at Central, but some of the pipes has arrived at South. So they're starting installation tomorrow. The new chiller and a cooling tower, that's coming out next month. And existing walls, and there's a lot of patching going on because of interior renovation, so that's going to happen this month. And layout and framing and main entrance is going to happen. That is very different than what you see now. Central High School, same thing with the continuation of site demolition and grading. That's going to go on for next probably couple months. And underground utilities, Central is much more complex than the South, for the utility side of it. So that's a big component. And rerouting electric at a South Bus Loop, that's a big component of this project. And demolition of science labs is going to happen. And most of the other ones are just getting the science lab and the mechanical work done. Like I said, we're going to start piping the unit ventilator piping to connect the unit ventilators to the actual new pipes. So that's going to happen this month. I think those are some of the key activities. I know there's going to be a lot more work done, but these are the big, major points that I want to get it out to you guys. So, I mean, this project, week from today will be completely different than today. So, I mean, it changes daily basis. So, if you guys are interested, I know this is a short process, but anytime you guys are interested in looking at some of these constructions, just let us know through Dr. Wall and Mr. Egan that we could accommodate to walk through the site and show you what's going on.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions by the board?
I don't have any questions for Mr. Lim. I would just like to make a comment that could we put this information up on the main page? Because I know it's within our agenda, especially the renderings. But if we could just put it on from the main page of the district in both of the school sites, like a construction, so people can go, and see
Absolutely.
where we're gonna end up and how we're getting there.
Yeah, this will be active tomorrow on the agenda, but we can make it on the main pages too. Absolutely.
Thank you.
You bet.
I do have a question for Mr. Lin.
Yes.
Are there any items that we've ordered, like you had said, the chillers and things? Are there any things that we haven't received yet that might possibly be a delay? Or
No.
everything's going like
Everything is going as we scheduled. The equipment that needs to be out here is out here as we planned. So everything's on track.
Excellent.
And I'll let Dr. Wall know right away if there's any issues that pops up, so there won't be any surprises. So we're on track.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr.
Good. Thank you.
Okay. Still on the superintendent's report.
Survey firm update, as we discussed at last meeting, we had sent an RFP for survey firms to look at talking to our school community, that being parents, faculty, staff, students, in regards to looking at the potential for school calendar modification. Again, just to remind everyone, this has nothing to do with this next school year or the next school year. This is at the earliest, if there's an interest in the 14-15 school. But with that said, we had responses to our proposal that was sent out, and the prices range from $6,000 to $10,000 to more. So since then, I've done some investigating, and want to do a little bit more investigating because no one likes to just do something that limited for that size of money. We talked about that. This should be more broad encompassing. One of the things that I reflected on since the last meeting is we had George K. Bauman here to talk with us about some of the things they do for school districts. One of them being survey your school community. They can do a random survey or a general survey, a benchmark survey they call it. And I've spoken with them since the last board meeting, and I can bring back a sample of what one of their benchmark surveys can provide to the board. So it's more broad encompassing than just asking your school community about calendars. As they reported at the initial report to the board, they do the surveying at no additional cost to the school districts. So that could be something to entertain if those benchmark surveys are something you're interested in. I can bring it back as an information item in July, just to look at what information you could garner from this. It's an option. And it's a
So
much more
why would they do
economic.
that for free?
That's one of the services that they provide districts.
I think it's kind of like what we had with Gilbane. It builds a relationship, if we were to issue bonds in the future, we probably hope we use them again.
But we have no commitment to them. This is just, they presented this as a service. It's something to consider.
I would be interested to see what they have to say. My only concern would be, you know, there was discussion in the past at previous board meetings about making sure that there's no ties to the district, that there was no companies that would be used for hidden agendas, things of that nature. That I would be concerned that there I wouldn't want to hint at improprieties with the bomb. So that would be my only concern, but I would be interested to see what type of information they have or survey they have.
Yeah, there'd be no commitment. This is just a service they offer.
Would they analyze the information, or do they just dump it?
No, they give you a report back. There's analysis of it. And again, this is just another option to consider. As we talked last board meeting, no one was anxious to spend more money if there's another option to look at. And I believe I was charged with looking at other options that don't cost money. This is one to consider that you've been presented. So I'll bring it back as an information letter. Thank you. The next item is just an update on LADSI withdrawal. As I mentioned throughout this process, one of the ways for this LADSI withdrawal to go, I guess expeditiously, is for all member districts to approve the withdrawal at their board meeting. That did not happen when 181 withdrew. Some of the school districts did not approve that. And we were notified last week that District 208, Riverside Brookfield, their board did not approve the withdrawal of District 86 from LADSI. That's no surprise. It's the same thing that 181 went through. So the next process in the withdrawal is to submit the withdrawal to DuPage County Board of Regional Board, for them to hear at their next meeting, and that will take care of the DuPage County schools. Cook County does not have a regional board, as we reported that disbanded years ago. So that would go to each individual Cook County board. According to the withdrawal process in the school code, 2/3 vote is required by each of the groups in order to approve the withdrawal, which would be effective July 1, 2013. So we have to go to the next phase, which would mean, it's going to be a little bit more time intensive. So process it with the DuPage County Regional Board, which is what one of our feeder schools had to do, and then take it through each individual Cook.
Why would any district who's a LADSI member say it's okay for a big district like ours to leave?
Well, we had some that did report it was okay, because they can see that the new LADSI arrangement is still going to provide them the service they need for their kids, and not increase their costs significantly.
So if 2/3 of the Cook County schools do not vote yes, we can't leave.
At this time, that's correct.
It's kind of like if the U.S. asks the rest of the countries of the world, can we leave the UN, guess what the vote would be? No.
Do we have a feel of the rest of the districts in Cook? Of whether we would be successful or not?
I've got for some of them, but definitively probably not, because it's hard for them to say. If I had that kind of sleuthing of, 15 school boards, it goes down to honestly what LADSI can provide to them to ensure that their services will stay the same and their costs are not going to rise significantly. Those are the two things they have to consider. And we've been told that services will stay the same and their costs won't rise significantly. So that's really the litmus test.
So the rest of these boards have not taken any action yet?
They don't have to now. As soon as one does, it goes to the next phase.
And how many of Cook's had done so before RB?
Cook, none.
RB was the first one. Wasn't that special?
And is there a time limit for them to act?
Yeah, there is a time limit. They have to, it's a date in the fall, I don't have the definitive date with me. But we go to the next phase, so I'll give you more detail on this as we get it. But we'll be presenting in Cook County meetings now. So I'll keep you posted. That concludes my report.
We will move to the business report with Mr. Egan.
Thank you. Let me just get this set up here. Okay, tonight we will be taking a look at the fiscal year 2013 tentative budget. This budget was created with the assumptions and information provided and approved by the board on the February 23rd meeting. You, as a board, authorized Dr. Wall and I to prepare this budget using the same SPP assumptions that were in the model. So as we go through this, keep those assumptions from February in mind. As we've looked at in the past, the budget really is comprised of two plans, a revenue plan and an expenditure plan. And the revenue plan identifies the resources, while the expenditure plan reflects the priorities of the district through the allocation of these resources to the programs within the district. As we review the budget, Illinois Program Accounting Manual says that school districts must account for things in funds. So they've identified these funds for us, 10 through 90. Most of this is the same as what we've looked at before. For purposes of looking at how the school district operates, they identify 6 operating funds. That would be education, operations and maintenance, transportation, IMRF fund, working cash, and tort fund. As we go through the numbers here on the last couple slides, the operating funds will be what we'll be focusing on mainly. On the revenue side, there are 3 main sources of revenue. There's the local revenue at 93.9% anticipated for this year. That is real estate taxes, CPPRT, interest, fees, and tuition. State revenue at 4.5%, which is general state aid and any other categorical reimbursements that the state pays on. And federal revenue, which mainly is categorical and title grants. We do have fund-to-fund transfers, which help facilitate the purchasing or the payment of leases for tablet computers and our debt certificates. Graphically, this is what it looks like. As you can see, the local, which is the orange piece of the pie, is by far the largest. Another way to look at revenue is by fund. You'll see that the education and operations and maintenance fund take the lion's share of revenue for the district, with debt service, transportation, IMRF, and tort rounding out. Total revenue anticipated for next fiscal year is $85,309,841. Another way we can look at revenue is by groups, and this is a way that we look at real estate taxes, $72.8 million, about 85% of the revenue we receive. Other local is about 7%, and then you'll see state, general state aid, state, and then federal categorical to equal that $85.3 million figure. On the other side of the ledger, we have expenditures, and the expenditures by fund are as follows: education, operations, and maintenance, right under $80 million. Debt service, $2.9 million. Transportation, $2.4 million. IMRF, right around $1.8 million. You'll see capital projects at $17.2 million. That is the bond proceeds that were sold in the fall, being spent on the projects that Doug Lim described to you earlier. No expenses for working cash, and tort at $664,000. Typically, the percentages off to the right have more meaning, but for this budget, because the large capital projects figure kind of skews the percentage of expenditures by fund in this budget, in this tentative budget. We group expenditures by functions, and you can see that salary and benefits are the two greatest there, outside of capital projects, which again, is not typical for, not typically seen on a year-to-year basis. Purchase service and supplies, total right around 11 million, with other expenditures right around 9 million. Other expenditures are things like our debt service payments, tuition, and other miscellaneous items that the program manual classifies as other. Grouping of expenditures and total of expenditures equals $101,957,077 for this upcoming year. Graphically, that's what this looks like. Again, the percentages and pieces of the pie are skewed a little bit when compared from previous years. In summary, when we look at each of the funds, we'll take a quick look at the revenue and expenditures and the differences for each of the funds. Education fund anticipated shows a deficit of a little over 400,000. Operation maintenance has a surplus of 668,000 anticipated. Debt service runs pretty even with a slight deficit of 37,000. Transportation is running pretty even with a surplus of a little over 300,000. IMRF running pretty even at surplus of 46,000. You'll see capital projects running a deficit of 17.2 million. The main reason for that is the revenue was received in last fiscal year, while the expenditures will all occur in this fiscal year. So it's just the timing of that revenue and expenditure. Working cash revenue of 25,000. That's just the anticipated interest on CDs. Tort, we're running a difference of $66,000 deficit there. All funds show a deficit of 16.6 million. Again, that's not the key important number. It's the operating funds, which we looked at before. And as of right now, anticipated for the fiscal year 2013 tentative budget, we see a surplus all operating funds of $593,030. Graphically, you can see here estimated revenue and expenses for next fiscal year. And finally, the budget adoption process. The school code says that the budget must be adopted at a board meeting following the conclusion of a public hearing before the end of the first quarter of the fiscal year. Typically, that's our September regular action meeting. The tentative budget will be available to be reviewed at the district office and will also be put online for public inspection 30 days prior to that September meeting, at least 30 days prior to that September meeting. And the board will approve the fiscal year 2013 tentative budget and set the public hearing date at a time prior to the budget adoption in September. We will bring that back in the July meeting for action next month. Any comments or questions regarding the tentative budget for fiscal year 2013?
One question, Jeff. We already got the 17.9 million from the bond sale, right?
Correct.
So why wouldn't that, you had an imbalance there. Okay.
Revenue-
Okay, so okay, I got it. Okay. Okay, thank you.
Do you have a document that shows last year's budget in comparison to this year's? Because right now, all I'm looking at is 1 year, and I like to compare 2 years to see
Well,
what...
fiscal year 12 is not complete yet. We do have the budget online as we do for the last 5 years.
Well, I'm just asking for a document that, as we look at this as board members, we can compare last year to this coming up to see what areas have grown.
I don't have
Expenses or reduced expenses.
I don't have a comparison document. The only comparison document I will provide you is when we do, when I do present the adopted budget in September, I'll fill in the tentative information that you guys approved during the summer, and you can compare to when tentative to adopted budget, what has changed.
Could we get that in advance?
Well, you have to prepare the adopted budget first in September.
Well, I mean, I would just think that that would be provided when board members are looking at fiscal, numbers. We normally compare last year to this year to see, or moving forward, what sections could be increasing. For instance, you said the ed fund would be negative 412 down from last year, right?
No, I'm anticipating $412,000 higher in expenses
Right.
next year. It has nothing to do with this year.
Okay,
It's not a comparison from 12 to 13. It's what I anticipate revenue in 13 versus expenditures in 13.
okay, but isn't that an important piece of the pie as we negotiate a contract? Because expenses for salaries, benefits, and teacher salaries, you don't take away. I mean, they just
Right.
build on each other year after year.
Sorry, this wasn't on, I'm sorry. Again, I took the approved FPP assumptions that the board approved in February and plugged those in. So some of these figures I just didn't make up. They were figures that this board provided for me to fill in.
Those parameters were set by the board or Jeff and I to build this budget.
Well, I'm just concerned about, because the ed fund, as you said, is the largest fund in the district, right? 60% of our funds go into that. And if we move forward and, next year it's 800 and the year after it's 1.2, I mean, it just would exponentially get larger unless we make cuts in salary or staff.
Well, again, those decisions are typically made on the projection model as to how things matriculate from year to year going down the road. This is a tentative budget. Things will change between now and September. The state board requires a tentative budget to be presented. That's what my charge was, and additionally, the assumptions that were approved are the ones I put in here. As we further discussion with salary and benefits this summer and into the fall, obviously numbers will be changed.
We're charged with presenting the board with a balanced budget. This tentative budget being recommended to you for July action is a surplus budget of almost $600,000.
So we don't need to take any action now?
No, we'll present that in July for a tentative board budget action, and then, as Jeff indicated, it'll be posted online and available in the district office, which would be, minimum is that 30 days will be beyond the 30-day for public review.
Okay, any other comments or questions on the tentative budget? Okay. Thanks, Jeff. We'll now move to the treasurer's report again, Mr. Eby.
Thank you. Treasurer's report for May 31st, 2012 is presented. Really, two things I'll point out. First, on page 18, we had a higher month with regard to our claims paid for May. It brought our average up to where it was last year with regard to claims paid. So at least it was good we could take that hit in claims and still have a pretty good overall fiscal year average. Having months, October, November, in the $400,000 and $500,000 range really helps us weather that type of storm. So that was some good news after the bad news. And the last thing that I will mention is we received our 2 June tax disbursements, June 1st, June 15th. We've been working with PMA to invest for our cash flow that we have developed with them. And in July, when we present the June treasurer's report, you'll see those tax receipts included in there. So I just want to let you know we are working on that for next fiscal year. Any questions on the treasurer's report?
Okay, thanks, Jeff.
Okay, thank you.
The next item on the agenda is audience communication. Is there anyone in the audience at this time that wishes to speak? If you do, step up to the microphone, identify yourself by name and where you live, and you can speak. No?
I'll get about non-parking.
We're going to do that after closed session.
After close, thank you.
At this time, We need a motion to adjourn to closed session to discuss the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of employees and collective bargaining and pending litigation. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
And do we have a second?
Second.
We got a motion by Mr. Kuhn, second by Mrs. Gallo, to adjourn to closed session for those reasons stated. Any questions? Kathy, can you call the roll?
Mrs. Barrett?
Aye.
Mrs. Gorgel? Aye. Mr. Brennan?
Aye.
Mr. Kuhn?
Aye.
Mrs. Gallo? Aye. Mrs. Clancy?
Aye.
Dr. Skoda?
Aye.
We'll probably be in closed session for about an hour. So the only action we'll be taking is on that one issue we're delaying until after the closed session. So let's take a short break and we'll go at it.